Good morning, everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Yep, it's St. Patrick's Day today, and I am wearing green, so I'm okay. And this is an old Cispus t-shirt. There's that Tower Rock. That's the icon of Camp Cispus. But this morning, I'm here to review a few things after our spring conferences, and we did that Thursday, this past Thursday. If you missed and would like to talk to us, just message us on Dojo. We can still talk about your child and sixth grade. We also met on Friday with the high school because sixth grade, although is fantastic as part of the elementary, and we really prefer the kids here, the based on standards and secondary education, it really goes 6 through 12. The standards for sixth graders are 6, 7, 8 bundle standards, unlike previous grades where the standards were just that one grade. So they had fifth grade standards last year, fourth grade the year before that. This year it's 6, 7, 8. So they really spiral. And mastery is not required this year unless they already have it, which is great. But I do want to share a few things that you may already know, and otherwise it's review. So those of you that are seeing this, obviously, are checking your all stories on Classdojo and using the chat to message Miss Berg and myself. And one thing that I also am seeing parents do, which is great, is go to their child and at least once a week, just check your child's behavior just to make sure everything is positive, that they're behaving and following the school rules to really help each other learn. In a room full of 21, 22 kids, there are certain behaviors that are just, it's not the right time and place. So that's why we have our rules, which is listen and follow directions, keep hands, feet, and objects to yourself, and respect your classmates and teachers. Very straightforward rules that really make learning here fun and accessible for everyone. So if you see these positive, kids working, participating, doing their math, doing their science, acknowledge them. Say, hey, I noticed you're getting positive feedback from Mr. Gonzalez. You're doing the right thing. Nice job. That's all it takes, an acknowledgement. But if you do notice, say, a needs work, if it's something straightforward, you can read it in the message. But if there's more to it, oops, I didn't mean to search that. I know what disruptive means. If it means more than that, I'll write a note. Here's what this does. This is really helpful. If you happen to see this the day it happens, or even if you wait till Friday, do your check-in on Friday. When your child comes home, or at the end of the day, you can say, hey, I noticed you were making noises during class and you wouldn't stop no matter how many times you were asked to stop. What's going on? Boom, you just opened the door to a great conversation. Maybe your child was having a bad day and you could message me and say, hey, my kid was just having a bad day. This won't happen again. Or maybe there's something going on that you or I need to know about. So that is a really helpful way for us to stay in contact about your child's behavior. Now, one of the behaviors that is going to be important based on our discussions with the 7 through 12 teachers is their academics and homework. I got to say, one of the things that becomes really more important in 7th through 12th grade is they get more homework, and their teachers need that homework to be done because it's usually the kind of practice that will help them do better in class. And by 7th grade, homework becomes part of their grade. So if they want to keep their grades where they need them to be or where they want them, homework is a part of it. So we use Google Classroom. They use Google Classroom. Even if you're not connected to your child's Google Classroom, here's what you can do. You can say, hey, kiddo, log on to your Google Classroom account on a home computer. And you can even do this on your phone, but on your phone, it's really just a look. Doing work is possible. Tablet is better, but a computer is best. So, for example, my child can say, yeah, here's the work we're doing in science, and some of it they can only do in class. When we do water quality testing at the creek, obviously, you miss a day, you can't make that up. But if you miss a day while we're learning about pH or DO or temperature, your child can do this at home. Because like Miss Berg does, sometimes I'll give ed puzzles with some websites that kids can read to learn about their parameter. Or they can look at our fish data to decide how our creek is doing. Now, math, this is a question that came up during conferences. The nice thing about math is every assignment that we do live in class is paused until we go through it in class, so we can go through together, slowly, deliberately, and think deeply. But once an assignment is done, let me go back to the potting soil. Your child can click on the assignment, and on the math curriculum we're using, if they have access to a computer at home, all the slides are open. So you can see what your child is learning in class. So for example, right now we're learning how to divide fractions, but they're literally showing kids what that means. So for example, starting with 2 divided by 1/3, it literally means how many of these 1/3s can fit into 2. And then they show another way of looking at it. If a third of a planter only has 2 flowers, how many fit in the remaining 2/3? So it starts with whole numbers, and then it'll lead them to figuring out fractions. And it shows them simulations so kids can see what it means before they learn how to calculate. This isn't new math. It isn't funky math. This is learning what math is, which, come on, let's admit, you and I were never taught that way. Maybe some of you were, but I'm old enough that they just showed me algorithms that I had to memorize without actually explaining to me what it meant. So what people are calling, oh, this new math that doesn't make sense, is really just teaching kids what it means so they can understand it, not just be able to fidget with numbers and come up with an answer and not really know what it stands for. So this is what's there. But here's the thing, and this is what I told parents at the conferences on Thursday. If you don't get it, you don't have to. It's okay. Hey, you're already successful. You're already a grown-up. What I need you to do then is just have your child write down questions. Because if your child comes to school with questions, I can help. If your child just looks at a problem and says, I can't do this, why? I don't know, then it's really hard for me to know how to help. I told kids, it's like a doctor. If you're feeling sick and you go to a doctor, they don't just throw medicine at you until they figure out which medicine works. No, they take your temperature, they take your blood pressure, they look at your throat, they look at your ears. This is the way a teacher diagnoses a problem, is I have to see their mistakes. Kids have to make mistakes in order to learn. And we're really trying to make that the norm, making mistakes. If your child's a perfectionist, tell them, that's great for stuff you're good at, but if you're just learning something new, you got to get there. And you got to struggle, and you got to make mistakes before you become perfect. But this simulation just shows you an example of how Desmos is really great at showing kids what this division stuff means, what it looks like. So that's pretty cool. So I already mentioned some of the 7th grade expectations, basically homework, behavior. The rules we have here work perfectly next year. If kids are respectful, doing their work, keeping their hands to themselves, believe me, they'll do great in junior high. And just, yeah, if they have some time every day to do their homework, remember, if your kid is in sports, they got to be getting passing grades in order to participate. And we're letting them know so they build the habits now that will serve them best next year. Now, one thing I do have to mention before I sign off here is we've got the readathon going on, and I got to say, my class, whoop, whoop, look at this, almost $1,200 raised. We might just beat last year's fundraiser. Last year, they raised, I think it was close to 3,000. It was amazing. We also have Sugar Hill Farms fundraiser. You should be getting that probably tomorrow. So get your kids started on selling those amazing treats for Easter. Thank you to Sugar Hill Farms. Thank you to Julia and Rochelle for helping put all these fundraisers together. And thanks to the PTA for the readathon, because this is amazing. One last thing I do want to mention before signing off here is you have on Dojo schedule of what's coming up. Thank you to the parents who signed up for the April 4th walk to Finn River Farms. Really can't do these short field trips without you. Make sure you come to the Cispus meeting on April 23rd. That's April. It's not March. It's not next week. Next week? Yeah, it's not next week. Or actually, the 23rd of March is Sunday. We're not having a meeting on a Sunday. But it's at 6 p.m. Hopefully you can make it. If for some reason you can't make it, schedule another time to meet with us because we have to meet. And then there's our Camp Cispus trip, taking them on the 17th. Monday the 16th, we'll be doing Cispus activities on campus. So that's it. That's all I have for you today. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, message me on Dojo. But otherwise, have a great St. Patrick's Day.